Good morning, everyone. This is Christopher D. Greif. Welcome again to welcome to the Brooklyn Family Support Advisory Council Outreach Update. I'm Christopher D. Greif, Chair of the Outreach Committee of the Brooklyn Advisory Council. Deborah Greif, who's just pulling in with me.
Good morning.
And we're going to just get ready to start. But before we all do that, let's also remind everyone housekeeping rules so it's easy to everyone. It's a little different than the general meeting. Everyone at this time has on their devices should be on mute at this time. That is for computers, tablets, and phones. And I will explain the phone instructions if we have anyone on the phone. And I remind you, if you have an announcement today as well, you can put it on the chat as we speak. If you have questions, please also put in the chat. If you don't want to raise your hand, you can also put the chat, say, Chris, can you please read this question? So please make sure I can see that attention at the same time as well. Also remind you, if you have a question for the speaker or anyone else, please make sure that you can raise your hand. The raising hand is in the bottom. As you see, number 8, panelists. The panelist area is right where number 8 is. You click on it and you'll see a picture of this hand. This hand will be raised, and I will see that name. As I said before, must have patience as well. So please, let's make sure we all follow that. You can raise your hand, or please put your question in. And I'm challenging everyone who has that question today of emergency management. It is very important to please say something and any questions. We're not stopping that, but we do want to make sure we show the courtesy to our speakers as well. For phone people, if they come on the phones today, so far we have no one on the phone. *6 is to mute or unmute. Phone is also for *9 to raise your hand, as I said that earlier. The *9 button for the phones, you can see your hand being raised, and I will see that person or that phone number, and I will identify that person at the same time as well. As people are entering these, as they're entering, we welcome them who are coming in just now today, so please enjoy the moments right now. And as you will see this box here that will say if you have a question, please remind yourself where the panel is and where the hand is, or your chat area. If you have announcements, this is the time to please put that in at the same time. If you have a question, please make sure you write in, I have a question, Chris, and you're writing it out. You can raise your hand as well. So you have those options. Please make sure you do so. And as the hand is moving around, it is reminding you to please use it. Okay, now I'm going to start with our news updates first. As you know, we have started a news update thing that if agencies have not just programs, but other things that are coming up. First thing I remind you is the next joint meeting, and I'm going to repeat this word, joint meeting of both councils, which is the Brooklyn Advisory Council and the Brooklyn Developmental Disability Council, will be Wednesday, June 23rd. Please make sure you get on early, so make sure that A, your microphones are working, and B, make sure that your camera is working. And to remind you, yeah, that speaker was last month, so I apologize for the little error, but we did have last month Ariel and the 507 thing that is available also on the YouTube page. So please make sure you watch that. That is available on our website as well. The next meeting is the 23rd. We are going to discuss a little bit of housing concerns that people mentioned last month. So we are going to be discussing that a little bit and other business that are coming up as well. Now, reminding everyone, and I'm repeat this for everyone, as we are getting ready to do soon, the Omni Reduced Fare. And I repeat, Reduced Fare Omni, it's called. Our two most powerful speakers is Reginald Barron, who discussed the Omni, and joining with him will be Donna Freckerson, Deputy Director of Bfssac. So questions might be coming up. We have 2 times that we're doing it. One in the morning will be at 9:30, which will start at 10 a.m. to 12. The night one is starts at 5:30 p.m. It will be getting you on by 5:30, and we'll start at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So please try to come in, pass the word out, and as I repeat again, this information is on our website again, and it's been going out on Facebook as well as Twitter and email. So please share the information. Yes, I might be ignoring, I might be driving nuts people, but guess what? You ask for something, it gets done. And speaking of getting done, Mask Force is coming back, but this time a little more early than usual, but it's a good way. Thursday, June 17th. Please join us. Click on the sign up, and whatever station you do travel on a train sometimes with someone or do the buses. The more masks we give out, the more we make sure. Now, reminding everyone, it is on June 17th. You choose the time and the location of any of the 5 boroughs, and that's including Staten Island. So please make sure. As a remind you, we are still following the CDC guidelines. You still must wear a mask on the bus and the trains, and I will say trains with an S. That's Metro North, Long Island Railroad, Amtrak, and the MTA subway. And I remind you, you must wear a mask in the MTA system. Once you go through that turnstile, you must wear your mask. If you don't have one, please see one of those booth agencies that does have an adult one and a children's one. And if they don't have them, please make sure you go into my MTA website and make sure you put that question that this ticket booth does not have it. And it's not your fault. That is the booth's job to make sure they have fully masked in all stations. And that's, I'll repeat, all the stations. So, and conductors along our rail metro are supposed to be giving out if they see a person not wearing one. So please, guys, please remind your colleagues and friends, wear a mask. And I always do that because, you see, I do wear this mask. I take the train, I took the bus. And it is a safety reason to make sure that we continue. Doesn't matter if you've been vaccinated. We are still following those guidelines as well. Now, last month I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Ariel, who did speak about the voting. Don't forget, there is a absentee ballot for accessibility that you can still click on, which is New York City absentee.com/track. But you can always go on to the absentee ballot area and make sure that you can sign up for that. The envelope will come in the mail, but you will get an email link. Do not open that link until you get the envelope. Once you get those envelopes, you can then you can vote whatever you want. It's the same way you do as a ballot marking device, but it's very easy to do. And if, say, you don't want to mail it, you can still bring it to any of the poll sites. There will be boxes near the information station. So please make sure that you can put it in. If your absentee ballot comes late, don't kill yourself. Just when it comes, you can bring it to any of the polling sites, and you can make sure, because it is the coordinator's job to make sure those ballots are being transported to downtown Brooklyn, period. Okay? Now, if you have any questions, whatever I said today, please write them down, and I will answer those questions later on. Now, remind everyone also, the Brooklyn Developmental Center, which is Region 4, which is us in Brooklyn, has a new address. Please make sure you put that in. Now, remind everyone, not everyone's phone numbers are online at this time, so please continue emailing them, and please allow additional time. They may not answer you on the same day. You might have to give them time because, as you know, they just moved to the new location, which is 750 Vandalia Avenue. The main entrance is on Vandalia Avenue. They will give you 2 addresses. It is still 750 Vandalia Avenue, same zip code. You don't have to work for building whatever. You can still mail them their stuff. And just remind you, Pete, our advisory council office line, it is still working. We still have 718-642-8512, as well as the front doors number is still the same at 718-642-8576. And our email is still online, which you know we don't shut that down. But you can always check. You can email us or leave a voice message. As Amanino does check the voice messages, but I remind you, if you don't leave a clear, slow message, I will tell you right now, we will not return your call because we cannot hear you clearly. So please say it slowly and clearly. Thank you. And we will get back to you as soon as possible. As a reminder, I will say this, please experience delays in returning calls and emails because it's very important to call in these numbers because check calling you back. We're dealing with everyone calling us. Please remind you, we cannot transfer you to those other staff. You must use their email addresses. It's always their first name, their last name at opwdd.ny.gov. So that is the one thing I'm going to remind everyone. So as you see, that's including our office and as well as the Brooklyn Developmental Regional Office has moved as of June 1st. And remind everyone, our website has always been updated. If you have something new you want us to put on the website, please make sure you send it in no later than this Friday. Once it goes in by Saturday, I will make sure all that information goes up to the website. If you have something regarding new stuff you want me to put in on the news update, I will sometimes put in the front homepage, then it will go into the news update. So please make sure you visit our news update that we try to keep up to date on anything. And to remind you, both councils are working together. The DD council's information is there, and as well as much more information. Also, and just letting Matthew know that we also added the emergency management page. That information that is also up to date and on our website. So please make sure you visit our website, and as well as you can get the links for the front door or anything that's coming up as well. So as you see, please make sure you visit the Brooklyn Advisory Council website, email, website, or please leave a voice message. We do get back to you as soon as possible on that as well. Now, before I introduce Matthew, let me just check. I see everyone is putting in their information. You also can still do your announcement later on. So we will be, I will be saying to everyone, if you have an announcement, please make sure that that announcement is, please make sure you are all having a good time today and enjoy. I will announce the special guest star later on if he pops in. So at this time, is Matthew in the house? And I got to be careful. I mean emergency management Matthew, because I know there's another Matthew there. Let me just check. I know we just saw him. Let me help him out. Matthew, just need to unmute yourself. And I just heard. There we go.
All right. Can you hear me, Chris?
Loud and clear. Let me introduce you first before we get on. Don't mute yourself.
I'm not going to. Can you see me on the screen?
Yes, we could. The whole world
good.
can see you. That's what I said. The whole world can see you.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, let me introduce the Mr. Matthew, and I'm not going to say his last name because it's hard to say it, but I'll say this: he is from emergency management. Matthew and I go back, let's say 100 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. But Matthew will give you guys some great information. So I urge everyone, get your paper and pen ready because Matthew is giving you homework in your notebooks. So Matthew, you're on.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Like Chris mentioned, my name is Matthew. I'll pronounce my last name for you guys. I'm Matthew Pavogel. I know it's a difficult last name to pronounce, but that's my last name. I work for New York City Emergency Management. I've worked at the office since 2015. Before that, I worked for the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities from 2007 to 2014. So I've been involved with working with people with disabilities for some time. The first slide here just kind of gives the title of the presentation. So for people with disabilities, and it's called, so for our office, we actually have an acronym called DAFN, which really stands for Disabilities Access and Functional Needs. It's a long title, but that's what we have that covers disabilities, but other at-risk groups. But specifically, we're going to talk about disabilities today. So you can go to the next slide, Chris. So this slide talks about the mission of our office. So I'll go through the mission and talk a little bit about our outreach programs. So for New York City Emergency Management, we help New Yorkers before, during, and after emergencies. And we do this through preparedness, education, and response. So for preparedness, before any emergency, we're preparing for all New Yorkers, all individuals, especially people with disabilities, how when an actual emergency happens, we'll be there to help individuals. So all of our plans are accessible for all New Yorkers. We don't have separate plans for people with and without disabilities. So for people with disabilities, they're in all of our plans as far as how we would work with them. And we have a heat plan since we're going, it's pretty hot today. We have a heat plan, also coastal storm plan. So those are some of the plans that we work on before an actual emergency. For education, which I'll talk in a little bit about, I'll go first to response. So response, our office actually is a coordinating agency. So we work with many other city agencies, nonprofits, and specifically we work to coordinate emergencies. We're there to respond. We're responsible for responding to emergencies, and we work with other agencies like the fire department and police department. So the little thing we always say is that we don't fight fires or fight crimes, but we work with those agencies. So if ever a fire would happen, we would work with them to respond to individuals. If anything occurs, if they need other communications or other information, we would work with them. One emergency recently that we actually responded to, there was a fire in Jackson Heights, and we actually have been working with Housing Preservation Development, other agencies with that actual emergency. So we respond to emergencies. We have people who are called CICs, and that's basically someone who would respond to an emergency to understand what's happening and to help with that emergency. One actual emergency that dealt with people with disabilities some time ago, there was an actual terrorist activity at Vision Celis Manor, where we had to respond, and also if anyone needed counseling, we work with the Red Cross. So that's one example as far as response. Education specifically, we have many programs that outreach to all New Yorkers within the city, especially people with disabilities. The Ready New York program, which is this presentation today, that is it is a program. It's our main campaign for preparing all New Yorkers how to be informed about all emergencies. And we encourage everyone to make a plan and be prepared for any emergency may happen. So it might be a man-made emergency, it could be a weather emergency. So really being prepared for everything. In addition to that, we have the CERT program that you and also traffic control. So those are some of the things involved within our volunteers. Some examples as far as what these volunteers would do, during like winter weather, they may, I'm sorry, they may measure snowfall, and also during a coastal storm, they would be within the shelters helping individuals. So our volunteers, there's about 1,200 again, and they also work within their neighborhood to provide education and also response. We have a couple other programs. There's also the community preparedness program. That's more for local leaders and individuals within the city. As far as what we do is it's working with them to provide grassroots emergency preparedness and also volunteerism. And then finally, we have the Partners in Preparedness program, which is a program that prepares small businesses, organizations, how to prepare staff, facilities, and services to be prepared for any emergency. So those are all of our outreach programs. This is for outreach specifically, but again, like I mentioned previously, we're involved with preparedness, response. There's many things that our office does on a daily basis, and we do have our main website, which is for Ready New York. It's nyc.gov/readyny, which I'll mention probably one or two more times today. Next slide. So this slide talks about, again, people with disabilities. I myself actually have a disability. I have a vision disability. Since this is virtual, you're not going to see him, but I travel with a guide dog when I'm traveling throughout the city. And specifically, this slide is just talking about if you have a disability, what is your plan going to be? So thinking about what your plan is going to be, people with disabilities have to take additional steps to be prepared. So specifically myself, an example would be, since my guide dog is traveling through the city, if he's only traveled to a place on one occasion, he's not going to know where specifically to go. My little joke is that my guide dogs, they've never had internal GPS. I've always had to tell them where I'm traveling. So it's really like a team. So for myself and for other people with disabilities, practicing evacuation routes is a really good thing to do in case if, say, one exit is blocked or not available, you want to think about what your backup plan is going to be. I'm probably going to mention this more than once, having a backup plan, because that's really important for all individuals who have disabilities. Okay, so next slide. So the main guide that our program talks about during all of our presentations is the My Emergency Plan. Since this is virtual, again, our guides are on our website. The My Emergency Plan is on the website nysc.gov/readyny. And there are many other guides on that website and also videos that talk about disabilities. There's also children's guides on there. We have a comic book, a Ready Girl comic book. So those are some other items on that website. And there is also a section that talks about disabilities, access, and functional needs, along with older adults, children, pets, and service animals. So all of our outreach information as far as for individuals is on that page. So the Ready NYC program, the My Emergency Plan specifically, is broken into 3 sections. The first section is making a plan. The second section is gathering supplies. And the third section is called staying or being informed. So again, those sections are making a plan, gathering supplies, and then finally staying informed. So we have the My Emergency Plan in paper format if you want to request it. But also there is an app called Ready NYC, which is free of charge. You can download it through Apple and Android. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's a digital version of how you can put a plan together. It's an app you can download. Okay, so next slide. So making a plan. The next 2 slides are going to talk about making a plan. There is a lot of information within this section, so if you have questions, feel free to ask questions after the presentation. But for making a plan, this slide talks about developing a support network, having communication in mind, and having medical information that's life-saving, and all that information written out. So on page 5 of the My Emergency Plan, it talks about these sections. And for developing a support network for all people with disabilities, or if you're working with people who have disabilities, it's really important to have a support network. And this is really people you can rely on during an actual emergency. So this can involve friends, relatives, neighbors, coworkers, home attendants if you don't have family members in the area, or service providers. So for each individual, it's going to look a little bit different, but for each individual, you want to have a support network of people you can rely on and trust when an actual emergency happens in the city. One thing I would stress for people who are developing a support network, you really want to sit down with those individuals prior to an emergency, actually writing out your plan, almost like a roadmap as far as like the steps you're going to take. So step A, B, C, D, this is what you're going to do when an actual emergency happens. By doing that, it'll cause less stress when an actual emergency does hit the city, like coastal storm, heat wave, winter weather, any type of emergency. This will be helpful when that happens. So again, sitting down, and the other reason to sitting down before an actual emergency is because if an emergency is happening and you call up someone you think, oh, maybe they might be in my support network, I didn't really think that through. It's going to be a little bit difficult for that person to understand what to do. They may not know what your needs are if you have a disability. So that's why it's really important to sit down beforehand, write out your plan, and this is what we're going to do when an actual emergency happens. So some things you can do, again, is sitting down beforehand, writing out your evacuation plan, writing out your medications. If you're using any durable medical equipment, writing out the serial numbers, all that information. Also thinking if you have other disabilities, like if you are using dialysis or chemotherapy, thinking about like understanding where your backup location is. So these are some additional items to sit down with your support network and speak to them about that. And these are things that are going to help. One other thing that you can do, and this is more as a last resort, but providing a copy of keys to the individual that is going to be in your support network. So that's why it's people you want to trust. Again, this is if there is no communication, if all lines are down, there's no communication. It's a method that people can check on neighbors and friends, having a copy of their keys, say if someone trips and falls and they're unconscious in their apartment. So these are ways that you can have that support and feel that you're safe at all times. So in addition to having a support network, again, the support network, again, is going to involve contacts. So communication is going to be something you're going to want to think of. And specifically for the city, we talk about having at least 2 contacts to be prepared. But honestly, I would have more than that, have a backup, have more than those 2 contacts. In addition, out-of-state contact is really helpful. And again, that's if there's a large emergency, like a power outage, which can happen during the summer. That is something that you might want to have an out-of-state contact. What you can do with a power outage or the other emergencies, say like Hurricane Sandy, September 11th, even more recent, Hurricane Isaias, which hit the city, but it was only wind, caused a lot of power outages and actually caused difficulty with calling individuals. My cell phone didn't work when that actual emergency happened. So for that instance, you want to have out-of-state contact. So what you can do is contact a relative or neighbor in another state, and then they can relay information to your contacts in the city. It's almost like playing a game of telephone where you're relaying that message to the person, say in Florida, and then they're relaying it to your contacts in the city to let them know that you are safe and everything's okay. Other means of communication for people who are blind or deaf or have developmental disabilities, communication may vary for each individual differently. So again, it's important to think, maybe I text better, maybe that's a better means of communication. Maybe I want to call somebody. It's really up to the individual. And as far as communication, again, kind of putting that roadmap or checklist together, this is the person I'm going to call first, second, third, thinking those things through to really be helpful when an actual emergency happens. For people who are deaf, as far as communication goes, for them, they are going to want to think of, if there's no way, as far as if I don't have hearing aids or any ways to communicate, what am I going to do to communicate? So that might be having pen and paper, using gestures. It's really, they need to think about what they're going to do for communication. For someone who's blind or low vision like myself, really it's up to me to advocate for myself. And this is for many people with disabilities. I know it's not easy, but advocating to tell first responders, this is how I need help. This is how you should be guiding me. And if you're going to take me to a certain location, please tell me where you're taking me. I've had multiple times where people just come up and grab me, and that's not acceptable. So again, it's really up to me to work with first responders and people to tell them, okay, this is how you should guide me. And our office actually does trainings for this when we open, before we open coastal storm shelters. So that's one thing which I'll talk about again later. But that's for communication specifically, and for medical information, having everything written out, specifically life-saving. So there is a section in the My Emergency Plan where one can write out their medical information. So this can be from the medications they take, the dosages, prescriptions, certain information, including your blood type. There's also information you can put in there for your emergency doctor's contact information, and also if you have any allergies. So say if you do go to the hospital, having all this written out is going to be helpful, either in the booklet format or on the app. This way you can show those you're going to help, this is my medications and these are my allergies. Please don't give these types of medications. So for instance, like penicillin or other medications you might be allergic to, that's a section you can write out that will tell that information. It's important because we may go to the hospital and we may forget information. In addition to that too, we recommend everyone having index cards on them at all times. So either in your purse or wallet, and that would be specifically having short, specific emergency contact information on you. And also on those cards, have specific information such as I speak ASL, I speak English as a second language, maybe I have a developmental disability, certain things that are going to be very specific, but are going to be helpful when first responders come to help you. So again, this slide was talking about support networks, about communication, and also medications, and having all of this written out and prior to an emergency. So you can go to the next slide. So this slide continues the My Emergency Plan as far as making a plan. And this slide talks about having a transportation plan in place, having an evacuation plan and knowing your zone, and also planning for power outages. So specifically, evacuation and transportation, they do go hand in hand. For certain emergencies like a fire or a coastal storm or a building collapse, those are going to be emergencies where you would need to evacuate. There are also emergencies where you would shelter in place, and that might be winter weather, could be chemical threat, terrorist event, even certain other emergencies where you just feel it's not safe to leave. That's where you would stay where you are. But again, transportation and evacuation, they go hand in hand. And specifically for the city, since we are in coastal storm season, actually the season is from June 1st all the way to November 30th. It's a long time, but really the city is going to mostly be affected from August to October. So if you think about it, in the past, Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Irene, both in October or close to that, and also Hurricane Joaquin, which barely missed the city in 2015. That was also in October. So that time frame, August to October, is really the peak season for New York City. And specifically, the city has a program which helps with knowing what your evacuation zone is for hurricanes and coastal storms. So the city has a program, it's the Hurricane Evacuation Zone Finder, and the actual campaign is called Know Your Zone. So that campaign, you can actually find out there's 6 evacuation zones. You can find out what evacuation zone is that you're in by going to the website or calling 311. They can track what zone you live in by your address. So recently this year, they actually added zip codes into addresses into the evacuation zone finder, where I've seen that there's been actually 1 million more individuals placed into evacuation zones. So it's important, one way you can find out what zone you live in is by calling 311, going to the website. And also our evacuation zones, the evacuation zone finder, you can find out what evacuation center is closest to you. So for the evacuation centers and also shelters, they are accessible for people with disabilities. For people with developmental disabilities, we do have a quiet room within the shelter. There's also communication cards. There's many other things that we provide. Other accommodations, someone has to leave their home. We have a stockpile of medical equipment, so that is wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and crutches, and also refrigerators for medications. And in addition to that too, for communication devices and also electric wheelchairs, scooters, anything electricity-wise, we give priority to people with disabilities to charge their equipment. So those are some of the things that we offer in the shelters and service evacuation centers. In addition, we also have video remote interpretation for people who are deaf. That is interpretation through tablet. For people who are blind and low vision, we have information in an audio format or also Braille. This is more the orientation of the shelters. And then also, in addition to that too, we have signage throughout the shelters that talks about where certain things are. So for training, which I talked about before, we also train staff to work with people with disabilities on etiquette, the appropriate language they're using, how to work with people with developmental disabilities specifically, but all the other disabilities too. That training occurs for volunteers and also for Department of Social Services who are involved with the sheltering. So those are some things as far as evacuations. And again, that's only for coastal storms. So again, there might be other means where you may have to evacuate, and that might be for fire. Even for in hot weather time, heat season, you may have to evacuate and go to a cooling center. The city has cooling centers throughout the city. There's about, for this summer season, there's a little more than 200 that are available for cooling centers. And those are usually buildings like libraries. Department for the Aging is involved with cooling centers. A couple other agencies like DYCD, which is Department of Youth and Community Development, and also the Parks Department. So there's things in place for if you don't have access to air conditioning or you can't afford it, there are those cooling centers and also the heat assistance program to help with utility bills. So those are some things to help with the summer heat. That's a lot of information. As far as transportation goes, transportation really goes hand in hand with evacuating. So if you have to leave, we always recommend traveling to your support network first. But if that's not an option, then you're going to be going to the shelters, and that's for coastal storm season. For other emergencies, you might be going to a service center where that provides legal services, housing, other things like that. But again, transportation is going to be very key because you need to get there to get those services. So really for all New Yorkers, in the My Emergency Plan, it's on page 10, the section you can actually write out your transportation plan, the routes you take on a daily basis. And as far as having a backup plan for people who have disabilities, and for all New Yorkers, it's really important to have a backup plan for transportation. And that might include Access-a-Ride, accessible wheelchair taxis, either a family member or a friend that can transport you. So those are the things to think about for transportation. For people with disabilities, there is a program called the Homebound Evacuation Operation, and this is providing transportation assistance during a coastal storm. And what you can do is call 311, and what you tell that representative, they will route you to either Access-a-Ride or Accessible Transportation or Emergency Services or the fire department. What they'll do is they'll transport you to an accessible evacuation center, or they will bring you to a hospital. So it's depending on what your disability or medical needs are. So that's transportation. And again, having that in mind is really important. Again, like I mentioned, if you need to evacuate or travel to your support network, friends, relatives, you want to know how you're going to get there as quickly as possible. For some emergencies like coastal storms, the transit system shuts down 6 to 8 hours before an actual coastal storm. So you want to have that plan in place before then. And even for another emergency like winter weather recently, some of the outdoor subways were shut down for some time because it wasn't safe. So again, you need to have that backup plan if you need to travel and know where you're going to go as quickly as possible. For other emergencies, again, like heat, and also for coastal storms, if you're not in one of those evacuation zones like 1 or 2, which are the lower lying areas, those areas are going to be more the areas that you would need to evacuate, but you want to know what zone you live in because other emergencies might happen, like power outages, and that can cause the reason why you want to be planned to have for power outages. Specifically, what you can do for some people who have disabilities, if they use life-sustaining equipment, they can call Con Edison or PSEG, and they can find out, they can actually be placed on a list to be contacted if there is a power outage in the area. So for some equipment, this could be dialysis equipment, sleep apnea, or oxygen. So those types of durable medical equipment, if they qualify, you want to know if you qualify, you would call your utility provider, and then they could tell you. For longer power outages, we always provide people with the information that you should have a backup battery source to be prepared for that. So again, this slide was about transportation, evacuation, and then planning for power outages. Again, a lot of information in this one section. So again, if you have questions, please ask at the end. So move on to the next section, next slide. And this talks about gathering supplies. So the 2 ways to gather supplies for all New Yorkers, especially people with disabilities, is to put together a go bag or to have an emergency supply kit. The main difference between these 2 options, a go bag is kind of what it's saying right there, go, you're evacuating. You're leaving as quickly as possible in case if it's a fire, coastal storm, other type of emergency where you feel it's not safe, you would evacuate and you would take a go bag with you. A go bag is a small backpack or a small bag on wheels that you're going to take with you, and you want to have it accessible in a certain location where you can pick it up as quickly as possible. So it might be near your front door, maybe under your bed, in a closet, somewhere that's nearby, you can pick it up as quickly as possible. Supplies you should be for about 2 to 3 days, and you should check your go bag at least twice a year. So we usually recommend daylight savings time. This way you can check items if certain things go bad, or if you've gone through an emergency and you've had to use certain items, you want to restock that go bag. So for an emergency supply kit, that is going to be supplies that are going to stay with you either in your apartment or home. And that's going to be in case of an emergency where you can't leave, say winter weather, chemical threat, terrorist incident, or just if you feel, because of your disability, it's not safe to leave. And you'd want to have supplies for up to 7 days. It may seem like a ton, but really, if you're going to be there for some time, you want to have enough supplies for that. The next few slides, I'm going to go through the go bag as far as supplies for the general public, then for people with disabilities, and then finally supplies for service animals and pets. So you can go to the next slide.
I already did.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So this slide, again, talks about a go bag. Like I mentioned, it's either a small bag or a backpack on wheels. You're going to have supplies. So for some of the supplies you want to have in a go bag would be bottled water, granola bars or power bars to keep your nutrition. Also having cash and small bills. Why would you have cash and small bills? That's if there is a power outage and you don't have access to an ATM because they're not going to work if power is out. So having small bills, nothing larger than a $20 bill, and that's to purchase supplies if you need to. In addition, copies of identification cards, that could be a copy of state ID or ID NYC, having a Medicaid or Medicare card, a copy of that, or private insurance card copies, and also a copy of a passport, marriage license, or birth certificate. So the copies you're going to have are going to be in a plastic bag so they remain safe and don't get damaged. And then the originals are going to be in a plastic container in your home or apartment. So copies of IDs, also a portable phone charger. We all rely on cell phones these days, and you really should have that. Again, you want to charge the portable charger. I tend to forget to do that. So again, thinking in advance, charging your portable phone charger so you have that for communication. And then also having a radio so you can listen to the news to know if you need to evacuate or not, if you're in a hurricane evacuation zone. And also having a first aid kit. Say if you have scratches or bumps or bruises, you may need that. And also in addition, having toiletries. So this might be, shampoo, deodorant, bar of soap. This is really to keep yourself comfortable if you have to travel to your support network or to the shelter. We kind of joke that the shelter is a lifeboat. It's not a cruise. It's not that comfortable. So it's one way, you can remain comfortable, have those certain items with you. In addition, having extra items, and this is if it's during certain times of the year, so winter weather, having maybe an extra gloves, hat or scarf, having that in your go bag in case if it's a fire or other emergency where you have to leave as quickly as possible. And then finally having an extra pair maybe of comfortable shoes because you may be doing a lot of walking. These are some things you would have in your go bag. For the summer, for heat, you may want to have extra water, some sunscreen or a hat in there, or maybe some loose fitting clothing. So those are other items to have in your go bag. Next slide. So for people with disabilities, we want to have additional items in our go bag. A go bag is going, as far as the household, each individual is going to have a go bag, and also pets and service animals. So specifically people with disabilities, having extra medication in mind is really important. So again, thinking about the prescriptions you take, dosages, how often and when, and really having an idea maybe that, I should refill my medication. So trying to do that so you have enough medication on hand, or maybe even having medication in your go bag. So if people can afford certain medications, it's also a good idea to reach out to your doctor and see if you can get samples. For people who have asthma, for myself, having an extra inhaler is also helpful. And for other disabilities, so for people who are blind or low vision, like myself, having an extra pair of sunglasses, a cane, and also having a pair of sturdy gloves because we do rely a lot on touch. So having those extra items are helpful. For someone who is deaf or hard of hearing, they may want to have an extra pair of previous hearing aids if that's possible, or a communication card. And for people who are in wheelchairs, having an extra portable tire inflator or tire patches. And then finally, for people with developmental disabilities, having certain items, maybe music, headphones, certain items that are going to help keep someone calm during an emergency. So those are some other items to include. Again, for people with disabilities, really, what your needs are. So if you think someone's going to help you because your disability, that's what you want to include in your go bag. Everyone in the household is going to have a go bag, but again, each person's go bag may vary a little bit, and that's if someone has a disability. Next slide. So for those who have pets and service animals, having a go bag is extremely important for them also. My guide dog has a go bag. And some of the supplies that you should have would be water for them, maybe an extra bowl, a portable bowl, having food on hand for a few days, having treats, maybe having a blanket, also maybe having a picture of the pet in your go bag because pets do go missing, and also medical information, so veterinary information, or also having information about pet-friendly hotels if you can't go to a certain location. So for the city, our coastal storms accept pets and also service animals. People think, oh, I can't evacuate because I have a pet. That's not true. Any legal pet you can bring to the shelter during coastal storm, and that involves, pets such as dogs, cats, hamsters, gerbils, birds, and also snakes. I'm not a huge fan of snakes, but they are legal pets. Anything illegal, You can't bring your tiger or your bear to the shelter. That's just not going to happen. But any legal pet is allowed in the shelter because, like I mentioned, there is a pet-friendly room in the shelter. And also, service animals, people are not going to be separated from their service animal. We do know some people may come in, they may say they have a therapy animal. The rules are a little bit different, but again, we're not going to ask for documentation. We want everyone to stay safe and feel like they are safe during an actual emergency. So all these slides talk about go bags. I'll talk about emergency supply kits briefly. And an emergency supply kit, like I mentioned before, you'd want to have supplies for up to 7 days. And these are emergencies where you can't leave for certain reasons. Some of the supplies you'd have in an emergency supply kit would include a gallon of water per person per day. And so if it's only one individual, you'd have 7 gallons of water for that time period. Seems like a ton of water. What you can do is fill your bathtub, and that would be for drinking water, but also for bathing. In addition to that, canned food and a manual can opener, you want to have that so you can maintain your nutrition. If the power is out, you won't be able to cook your meals. So having that for nutrition is really, a vital thing to have. In addition, other supplies, kind of like the go bag, but again, these are going to be supplies more in bulk. Would be maybe having, extra flashlights, batteries. This is for the go bag, and also the emergency supply kit having, flashlights, extra batteries. Having other items in your go bag that might be larger in bulk could be a first aid kit. Again, a radio with extra batteries. So those are some things you'd have in your go bag, but again, the go bag is going to be a little bit lighter. The emergency supply kit is going to be for 7 days, so it's going to be heavier, larger in bulk, where you'd have to be a superhero to take it with you. So that's not going to be the case. It's going to stay where you are. And again, if you have a disability, you'd include certain items in your emergency supply kit. For people with pets, again, they're gonna have supplies for their pet for that time period. So again, like I mentioned, the go bag is going. It's when you're going to be evacuating. An emergency supply kit is when you're sheltering in place. You're staying where you are until told otherwise. Next slide. So this slide talks about staying informed. This is the third section of the My Emergency Plan. So we've gone through the first two, which was making a plan and gathering supplies. For staying informed, the city has certain programs to inform all New Yorkers, especially people with disabilities, how to be prepared. We have the Notify NYC program, which if you're not signed up for Notify NYC, I really encourage everyone here to sign up for it. And that is the city's alert program, where if there are certain emergencies, it will provide alerts to those who are signed up. So this is a free program. You can sign up for up to 5 zip codes, and it's small emergencies like your bus or train is not running, to maybe a little bit larger emergency like a water main break, to a really large emergency like a coastal storm, heat wave, winter weather. This actual tool can provide tips when it is a larger emergency, but again, small emergencies, it's going to give you that this is the information as quickly as possible. And the information can be done through text message, an email, or a phone call. The information is also provided in multilingual, so up to 13 languages. And also we have information that is provided in American Sign Language, also for people who are blind, low vision, and also is in plain language for people with developmental disabilities. So we want to provide as much information to all New Yorkers, before, during, and after emergency, and this is one way we do that. We also have the Notify NYC app, which is a free app you can download. And that app actually will track your location. So if there's an emergency in the location you're at, it will notify you. In addition to this app, we have the Ready NYC program, and that's, we have the Ready NYC app, but also the program itself, the campaign Ready New York. And the Ready New York campaign, like I mentioned before, we have our website, nyc.gov/readyny, which provides all the information about how to be prepared, putting a plan together. But in addition to that, also, we have an app that is free for Apple and Android, where you can actually type out your own plan. So that involves having contacts, also having, which I didn't mention before by mistake, meeting places. You can write those out to your contacts near and far. Also meeting places, which you'd want to have at least 2 meeting places, near and far. And that could be if there is certain emergencies. If you can't stay near your first meeting place, you want to have a backup meeting location. Meeting places, that's really anywhere you want to pick that's accessible to you. And again, it's a place you're going to go when an actual emergency happens. And you'll know everyone is safe if they're at that location. If they're not, that's when the fire department and police department would come in and help. So in that app, you can write out your meeting places, contacts. There's also a checklist in that app as far as the items you want to have in your go bag. And also that checklist allows you to see if you don't have certain items in there, so things you should put in your go bag. Finally, there's also information there that you can sign up for life-sustaining equipment. So it has that information in the app too. So all the information is in there. In addition to the Notify NYC program and Ready NYC, there is the Know Your Zone campaign, which we talked about before, and that allows you to find out what evacuation zone you live in and the closest evacuation centers. So that website is nyc.gov//knowyourzone. So these are some of the programs. Again, the Ready NYC program, we have guides in 13 different languages and also in audio format. Finally, our website, if you want to find more information out, it's nyc.gov/em. And then, like I mentioned a couple times before, for the materials, nyc.gov/readyny. So for any emergency, you want to have a plan, you want to have supplies, and you want to stay informed. These are the key 3 areas really to think about before an emergency, but you're going to want to know this when an actual emergency happens. Many emergencies hit the city, and you're not going to really know it, but until it actually happens. So that's why all these things need to really be in place prior to an emergency. And one of the emergencies in the city that you kind of know when it's going to happen is a coastal storm. That's one example. And you should still be prepared, take it seriously, and you should prepare for any type of emergency. And if you prepare for all emergencies, you'll feel less stressed, you'll know what to do, and you'll have everything in place. And it's really, it's really important to prepare for all types of emergencies because they happen all the time, and really you need to be prepared for everything. So you go to the next slide. This slide's about questions. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to ask questions.
Yes, everyone, if you have a question, this is the time to please raise your hand or put your questions on the chat. Matthew, Matthew, we have received 2 emails. Unfortunately, 2 people couldn't be with us today because it's graduation season as well as other things.
No problem.
And actually, I'm going to read one from a statewide member who couldn't be here today. It's not Debbie, it's someone else.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to say the names. But this will give everyone a chance to please put your questions in, because I'm going to challenge everyone today. I challenge you all to do a question. It's important to do this. Matthew, this person is asking about the concern of some of your sites regarding the heat areas, when we have high temperatures. Some of those sites are not prepared for ADA accessible. The problem is when we have to go to these heating centers, they're not ADA accessible, or you ask someone to help you, the staffs are very disrespectful. This is not the first time they brought this up. This is not the second time. This is now the 4th time. Why should I go there if I can go somewhere like a library, B, a train station, like Penn Station or Grand Central, or go one to the museums to stay cool? Anytime I try to go to these cooling centers, they're very disrespectful. What is going on with that at this time? And adding to that question, due to the fact of COVID, what is if any new procedure plan has been made?
So for the first question, again, let us know where the locations are. That's something that should be taken care of. People shouldn't be disrespected at those locations, and I'm not sure why that's happening. But again, like a lot of the centers we have, again, our libraries, that is one of our partners. We have the Parks Department. They have some cooling centers, but they have other programs too. Like they have the spray caps and spray showers. They have that. Again, I understand if you're not going to be respected, why would you go to the centers? I completely understand that. But we want everyone to be able to go to a center if they need it, because that's extremely important if they don't have access to air conditioning. So Again, if you can get me the sites, I'll definitely let our office know that, because that shouldn't be happening, first off.
Matthew, to answer that question for you, sorry to
Yep,
interrupt, but to answer that question, it's
yep,
according to the person said,
yep.
it's all in Manhattan. It doesn't matter which one. If she puts the address in, it's every person in Manhattan. If you go into Manhattan, there is an issue with that, and
Okay.
that's and that
Is
is
it a
and
certain
that
location in Manhattan, or just all Manhattan?
all of them because remember,
Huh.
Edith Prentice had the similar complaint about that
Yeah,
too.
I do remember. I do remember. Yep.
So you know that now it's coming from Manhattan's question on that.
Okay. So yeah, I
Uh,
mean that's something that I'll let the office know that, because it shouldn't be happening again. We do have partners that work. Again, because of COVID, we are opening more sites. Again, it's a little bit limited, but again, we're opening more sites. Last year, I know was very difficult as far as trying to find cooling centers. But this year, we are opening more sites. Again, for COVID, some things that we are doing, and more everyone has to wear face covering, social distancing. Again, we will offer, if someone doesn't have a face covering, we can offer that, and same for hand sanitizer. So those are things that we do offer, and those are things actually you should have really in your go bag too, because it'd be helpful at this point. Um, so that's, and to answer those questions, I mean, I don't know if that's everything you're looking for, but again, as far as the sites that are not respectful, I mean, that's something that we should know about, and I'll let the office know.
yeah. Okay. I understand some people right now. Before I continue questions, I'm receiving a text message from someone. Uh, Guys, the problem is it's just to remind everyone. Remember, we had a severe thunderstorm last night. Matthew can back me up on this. Some of your internet systems may be going in and out. I can see that, and I know that right now some of your signals might be acting up. Please don't worry if we go in and out. It is recorded. And I remind everyone, you may have heard the whole presentation. Yeah, Matthew, you did go out in the beginning. Like right now, my camera is going in and out a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we are experiencing some signal issues because we did have some areas in Brooklyn because of that storm
Yeah.
outage. So we are
Okay.
a little low on power, but we'll do our best we can. So please, everyone, I understand you're coming back in and out. You can still do that, so don't worry. I'm getting a lot of people. Let me just get this other question. Matthew, regarding there was a Queen's question also came in
Okay. Sure.
to you, and I know Debbie has a question. I know other people might have questions as well.
Huh?
When you do evacuate,
Yep.
very much the concern, and we do, and I'm going to say as MTA also is we do have those evacuation buses that do transport them up north to where the sites are.
Hmm.
The problem is and I have to remind that again and again because every year, I'm glad we're still trying to keep advocating for this, but you guys do your best. But FEMA makes promises they don't keep sometimes, and I have to remind them that you got people who need quiet time or they do carry the best of stuff, how much stuff they can carry, because there is a special go bags and stuff, but some
Yep.
people go a little overboard. So we do need to remind people that medication is your number one, and Debbie can vouch with me as well. Medication is one. Have a little bit of some like you mentioned cash and stuff, but you got to make sure that the number one thing is your medication, B, your any special food diet that you need to take. You should also write down what are you allowed to eat, because sometimes if you say how much you're allergic to, they don't get that sometimes too.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to do sometimes the opposite.
No, that's a good point. And also, like, for coastal storms too, like the shelters, we do try to, obviously provide, for people's diets, but again, it's really important for people to, if they have certain dietary restrictions, to bring things with them, because we are going to try to help all New Yorkers, but again, it may take a little bit of time. Sometimes that's why it's important to have those certain dietary things with you. As far as transportation, the evacuation centers and shelters, sometimes they may be in the same building. If they're not, yeah, we work with other partners for transportation wise. And if there's certain like requests that maybe we don't have, we'll work, like as far as a one-off request and try to help, provide that.
Those I have from everyone from the phone, from the people. And now I have actually Deborah Grive, and then we'll move on to everyone else who has a question.
Sure.
Deb.
Okay, Matthew.
Yes,
Before I ask my questions, good to see
Good to see you too.
And I'm glad you're on the call. First, I want to say video. This to me is very important, and it's not always taken serious. So now I'm going to say what it is. One, Chris brought up an excellent point because we have found that once we tell people these are the only foods we can eat and these are the only brands we can eat. Example, yes, both of us have diabetes, but we're allergic to a sulfonate and sulfites. So, and that means also like I cannot drink certain brands of water, like Danzite and Nestle's, because if it has magnesium sulfate, I'd rather die of dehydration than die from an asthma attack, because there's other ways I can get liquids or fluids into me. The other problem is carrying in a can opener. Sometimes some places will act like that's a weapon. I go, honey, I'm trying to open up a can. We need to also emphasize that yes, if our go bags, like say we have to go to a meeting, I'll use the Freedom Tower building, okay? And I know my bag is going to be searched. Okay, fine, no big deal about it. Don't tell me I can't take my can opener in if I'm on such a restricted diet. That I must carry a can opener, and I must carry, not just one, not the different style can openers. And I purposely will not do one where there's a knife on it because I don't want a problem. To get around that, I've carried also very strong plastic knives. How do we re-educate everyone on this? Because I don't want to be hassled. I don't want people with disabilities. I don't even want anybody being hassled because you're telling us bring foods, like I'll bring little brick packs of almond milk that I can drink or rice milk. And that's that. And I'm telling straight out. And if they look at me, I'm going, I'm sorry, this is what I can eat. I mean, I've now taken to carry small packs of almond butter with nothing in there I'm allergic to.
So I mean, as far as for our shelters, I mean, as far as education wise, definitely send. I know you're telling me this now, and it's important. Like I'm not sure if our office. I know that obviously they're aware of certain other things like straws and other things that are helpful for disabilities. So this might be something that maybe it's there, but maybe people are not as aware of it. So again, send me, what you're telling me, and I could definitely let them know because it is important. They should be educated that, for some people's diets, they might need that. And I mean, that shouldn't be a weapon. It shouldn't, I mean, that's crazy if people are saying that. But again, if they are, to educate them, really, I think I could let them know that. And for the coastal storm shelters, like that's something that, if that's something you need, you should bring it with you. And same for water too. And same for the water too. Like if you have to take, if you have to drink certain types of water, again, this is something I personally, I wasn't aware that you could be allergic. Again, that's new to me. So again, some people may not know that. And again, it's really like you're saying, it comes down to education and letting them know that this is what my allergies are. This is what I need. So I could definitely let the office know that too.
Yeah, wait, no, let me finish. The reason I'm saying this is that many people with asthma are allergic to any form of sulfites. That means I can't have dried fruit that has it, and I can't have certain bars. I definitely can't eat certain breads at all, and pasta. So I'm very limited, and I get really tired with looking at me like, well, what's the big deal? Well, it's my life. That's why at times I've stayed home during the mandated evacuation. And the other problem we also have to deal with is during Hurricane Sandy, Mayor Bloomberg shut down Accessorize, so people on the Coney Island Peninsula couldn't get out. We had people dying and drowning because there was no transportation to help them get out at all.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that you don't leave these people stranded in all the coastal areas.
Yeah, I think that's something that definitely, like, with transportation and other things in mind, like we learned a lot from Sandy, and our office with any emergency, we do an after action report. So certain things for issues, that's something, and again, that's something that shouldn't happen. But again, it's things that we know are an issue, we work on, and especially for disabilities, we want to help everyone. We don't want people being stranded. And if that happened, then, we obviously have come up with other things like the HEAL program, the transportation program we have, and also for transportation in general, we work with Accessoride, the Department of Transportation, all those different, because we're a coordinating agency, we partner with them. And when an actual emergency happens, and it's virtual, but we open the Emergency Operations Center, and that is one location where everyone can communicate and talk. And like the issues that you're bringing up, that can be brought up, within certain agencies that, so people are taken care of and everything is, okay at that point.
Well, thank you, Matthew. And yes, I will email you within a day or two.
Yeah, let me know, and I'll let them know. And same, with any other issues or complaints, like we do want to know about it, and we don't want it to be an issue when an actual emergency does happen.
Okay.
Sandy Neighbor, do you have a question for Matthew?
No, I don't. He was very, very precise. And what I'm gonna do is read up more on the website. So if I do have a question, I can email.
Yeah, you can email me if there's a question. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy.
Sandy, just to add your question. Just to add your bonus question. This information is also, just letting everyone know, since it's recorded, this information will be also on the website. And we do have, like I mentioned earlier, Matthew, we do have an emergency management page that you guys can go on quickly and very fastly. So we want to make sure everyone knows that as well.
And we apologize, but we don't have the technology for someone who's visually impaired unless your computer or a tablet or phone can translate that into words.
But that's what the device
Good news is that your site is accessible. I can go through with my screen reader. So.
Well, you just made me very happy.
Say that again. 1 second. Stop. Say that again.
It is accessible. I can use a screen reader on the website.
Duty noted. Thank you
very much.
I just want to make sure that's on the Sandy. You heard that, please. Make sure you're my witness. And did you hear that too?
These are my exec board members. We're all.
Amanino.
It does work. I mean, as far as large print and all that, I couldn't tell you, but I know it works with the screen reader. So we're good on that.
No, once you say screen reader, that's all I need to hear.
Well, we're trying very hard, but if another time we need to meet, because you can also, since Office of Emergency Management does work with all the full disability community, help groups like mine, where the parent part, OPWDD, how we can get and turn our website into more accessibility so you can get the information out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Let me move on. Nick from PHP, do you have a question for Matthew?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. No, I don't have any questions, but I'd like to keep in touch. Where I'm from, Partners Health Plan, we are a health insurance plan for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we do the case management as well. And we do have a lot of similar types of programs, parallel programs that we might be able to bounce off each other with. And I actually personally studied a little bit of emergency management myself, some postgraduate work. So I have a bit of an interest in this field.
Nice.
But I don't have any questions at this point in time, but I have the email, Ready New York email that I can contact you at.
Yeah, and my personal email, I'll give it to everyone here. And we also do presentations. This is obviously today, but throughout the year we do presentations. So if your agency or organization wants us to present, we can do that for staff, for those who are receiving services. But my personal email for the office, it's mpuvogel@oem.nyc.gov.
And just to let everyone know, Matthew, to answer your question also, as well as Nick, since you're there, your email information, Matthew, is actually on our website. And we're
Okay,
also
perfect.
making sure that today's presentation will also be attached to the news update page.
Okay, sounds good.
So therefore, make sure everyone gets it. So that will be added in. So Nick, you did answer your question because that's actually helping out outreaching, because you are helping your fellow individuals in the future, because we do need to make sure everyone knows about this. So I
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
Yeah, no
Nick. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm tired, Nick. I apologize.
Okay. But speaking of Matthews, Matthew from HRC, do you have a question? And the only thing I hear is I see an M-E with an S-T-E-P. Matthew, the other Matthew. Can you please unmute yourself? Because I'm clicking on you. Okay, Matthew, when you get the other Matthew from HRC, if you're ready, can you unmute? Who is this T-G-U-S-T-A-V-E? Can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, guys, I need Matthew, HRC, or T-G-U-S-T-A-V. Can you please unmute yourselves? That's in the bottom. Okay, so therefore, we're actually doing well.
I want to thank Matthew before anything. And Matthew, we will be sent. I will have not just myself, but other members of my exec board will send you information that can be useful to help with our individuals with developmental disabilities and their needs. And yes, I just wanted to bring a point. You brought up about straws. I'm sorry, this is not because I'm not being against the environment. I am, but people with developmental disabilities, when they drink with straws, most of them it's either plastic, or if they bring their own hard straws, it's because they can chew and they eat paper. The paper wax straws don't work.
I agree.
That's a problem we've had many times. I brought that up to Mayor de Blasio, and one thing I also will state is for your shelters, if people have to use them, then have a canister for the used straws to put in, so this way you're protecting the environment.
Okay.
But thank you. You appreciate everything.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'm so glad everything's being updated. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we'd
we're
like
trying to do. I mean, it's every emergency we have. We look at things that can be improved if we need to, and we see things that went well, maybe things we need to work on, and yeah, I mean, as far as evacuation zones, there has been an update this year where more people were added into the evacuation zones, so that's why it's really important for everyone to see like what zone you live in, and again, really zones 1 or 2, those are the lower lying areas, but it's good to know what evacuation zone you live in, and also like the closest center that's to you. That's also something that you really want to be up on. As far as for the summer weather, we do have a website which I forgot to mention. It's nyc.gov/beattheheat. So a lot of the heat tips are actually on that website.
And that information you're mentioning, it's also available on our website as well in the emergency management page. Or should I call it the Matthew page for you, Matthew? Actually, I should be calling it the great tips of Matthews.
I appreciate Matthew. I also appreciate that you brought up about the pets, because
No problem. Yeah.
when Sandy was, I didn't leave because I wasn't leaving my little dog home. And whatever pets I ever have, they go with me. I would not do that to an animal. They're my family. But thank you for doing that about the pets. We appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Very much too.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, hope you stay a little bit. Maybe you can hear some announcements coming up in a few minutes. There's some good tips coming in too.
Okay, sounds good.
Let me just switch over to my screen a little bit because our other person is not. We're a little ahead of schedule, but in a good way. Yeah, we're doing now. It's Deborah has an update regarding the 507 report, so I am going to give her a chance.
Okay.
Because it does relate it to all the disabilities, because as you know, yesterday was that. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I want to tell everyone that yesterday was a very busy day for me. because we had from 12 to 2 the statewide advisory council, and I am the Brooklyn representative to that committee. Yes, we heard directly from the commissioner, who was updating us about that a lot of the COVID protocols that OPWDD has been doing has been working. So we're very happy about that. We're happy that they're trying to figure out ways that if our children can go back to program or not, because it's still a work in progress. We also, well, Brooklyn got big. We're doing okay because one thing we got that I was very pleased to hear. As you know, all 19 councils, since not all of the chairs are statewide members, but we do work with the front door. So what's the good news? Well, Brooklyn, the minute the front door session started, we made sure that our information was always in with the front door. Come to find out that we were doing it right all along Brooklyn, because this way families have an option. They can call us if they need help, but they know that we're here for them. The other part, which that was really great, is that they're happy with the website because of the outreach. Now, we are also made a major request statewide. We want well, for years they've been working on the reimbursement requirements. That's a family support program for children who are living at home, not in a group residence, but they have to be living at home with their family. So what we've been requesting very much that we wanted to finally be finalized. So we know that in all of the counties across New York State, family support reimbursement programs will still be consistent. And if we have to update things like children who need certain computer devices to go on their computer so they can participate or read or whatever they need to help them live a quality life, we're asking and pushing it very hard. They also pushed very hard about the 507 plan. Now, every 5 years, there's always plans that OPWDD is required to do. Now, we found that we have a one-time of the, yes, I think it's called emergency payment from the federal government. Now, the one point that Commissioner Kastner brought up is that when we state that we need to be cautious about what the rate rationalization is, which OPW has the rate an agency can charge for a service, but separately is the actual fee for people who are working directly with our individuals, like a respite worker, a ComHab worker, or formerly known as ResHab worker, and the direct care personnel, whether they're working with our children at the program, or they're actually the ones of our children who live in a residential, they're the ones who take care. We need to talk about their salaries directly. We're also requesting that OPWDD labels what are the positions correctly. Now, yes, last night there was the 507 meeting for New York City. We're Region 4. So Delia Tucker, who is the Region 4 director, she spoke and brought up the rules and regulations. And yes, they download it's been recorded, and the information is on OPWDD's website as well as ours. There were questions they asked of us, and everyone had a choice of how to address it. How I addressed for Brooklyn is one, we want that whatever jobs that work with our children, we want the correct explanation of the job title, as well as what is the requirement for our children to receive that service. And I brought up about reimbursement. I wanted the same across the state. We've had parents who want their kids to go to get a job. But again, I brought it to OPWDD. then not all children are capable of working. And even the chair of the statewide, Mrs. Margaret Puddington, said the same thing. What we're concerned about is we don't, or almost all of our children have a pre-existing condition, and I'm not talking about their developmental disabilities. I'm talking about many of our children have asthma, they have or bronchitis, they have digestive issues, they can have, I can go on, but I'm not. If we said we need to advocate, because we can't tell Social Security what to do, we can advocate with our elected officials to raise the income levels from what the parents made. So because the wages they were paid is not the same as wages being paid today. We don't want that the person goes to work and they make $1 more than what the highest earning family members, it's either their father or their mother, and they lose their Medicaid. Then they have to go through what's called the Medicaid waiver. It can be $500, $600, $700 a month just for this one service. So what we brought up is that we have to educate and get our city, state, and federal elected officials on board to have this change. Now there is still time to write down and email. They are reading all of the emails, and that includes the commissioner and all the senior staff that comes out of 44 Holland Avenue. That is the main part where OPWDD is. And it would be very important if we all, you don't have to write a lot, just tell them what you think and feel. This will be a very big help for our population, because we have other populations who are very upset because they say we seem to get everything. We don't. We don't always get everything. And we also need to make sure that that the elected officials understand what kind of services, like when we have our children who need behavioral management, we need to make sure that program is well funded and supplied with personnel.
1 second, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you guys hear me loud and clear, please? I need to hear someone to unmute, please. Tell me you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. So you heard me loud and clear yet?
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So what I'm stating is, we families, as well as the professionals, we all have to work together. We have to educate the elected officials, their staff, and make them understand that our developmental disability is not short-term, it's lifelong. And it's very not unusual if our children have more than one developmental disability. They also can have a mental health issue added in with behaviors. And yes, don't be surprised, many of our individuals do abuse drugs or alcohol. And we need to make sure that it's noted. We also need to make sure the parents are given the help they need. Also, we need to make sure that for ISS grants that they speed up in upstate as well as here, to make sure so people who are on doing ISS grants are not waiting forever to get their services. So these were what brought up. I am going to put in writing and email the rest of what I wanted to say, but was limited to 3 minutes, and I stayed under 3 minutes. So,
and you guys still have time to put that in onto the OPW website. You can go still to that to put it in. Tonight is Long Island, but I will remind you, if you didn't register, unfortunately, that's closed. But I remind you, you can still visit the OPWD website or visit our website, which will link you right to OPW quicker, and you can get that information as well.
So I do hope everybody does, because when they hear from us, no matter what, whether it's negative or positive, it's important, because we have to make sure this system is really working, because there's more, the diagnostic tools are much improved, so it's easier to diagnose people with developmental disabilities now. So that is the that was what happened at the reports. Anybody have any questions for me
Before you go into the
before I go into the next phase?
Let me just check. Nick, Sandy, or anyone else, do you have a question for Debbie? Can you please unmute yourselves?
Hi, Deborah. I was also listening in on the meeting yesterday.
Yes, we know. We saw your name.
I thought a lot of good points. Haha. Yeah. So I thought a lot of good points were made, and I know you're going to follow up on that.
I will.
And I have a lot of faith in the people who presented.
Oh, Sandy, yeah. Oh, wait, you have a lot of faith and don't have a lot. I didn't hear the
We
last
didn't hear you.
part.
Can you unmute
Can
yourself?
you re-unmute so I can hear you?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, my dear. You went out.
Okay. Oh, now you can hear me?
Now I hear you better. I didn't hear the last part. You said do you have faith or don't have faith?
No, I have a lot of faith in the people who presented last night. I think they hit a lot of the important points that were necessary to explore. And I just hope that we're listened to when they appropriate the money.
I hope so too. And the one important thing is we have to educate, because you see, our services really aren't mandated, except if you're the Willowbrook class. And our kids are not the Willowbrook class. I'm going to make you in mind. But we do have to work together to get this done. So thank you, Sandy. And I hope you write something too. Doesn't matter. It can be only 1 or 2 sentences. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just whatever else you want to bring up. Okay.
Does anyone else have a question for Deborah on this, please? Unmute. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. All right. I have another announcement now to make. Ladies and gentlemen, my son, Christopher D. Gray, is now, we're going to congratulate him because he is now going to be from the same assemblywoman, the Community Service Award Ceremony for Men of Service, which will be held on Thursday, June 17, 2021, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And yes, Christopher is one of the honorees.
I gotta meet that guy.
Yeah, I wonder who he is.
Yeah, I gotta meet that guy.
And yes, they're also in memoriam. We are going to be honoring the late Garrett Gable, the
train driver
who unfortunately saving lives but lost his. But we have to remember what wonderful thing he did for people. Also,
and it's going to be his birthday too.
Yeah, and just want to also let you know that it's a little unusual because Christopher and I are both being awarded by the same assemblywoman this year, and we thank her very much. But Christopher will continue to be doing his community service for everyone. So as a mother, I'm proud. As the chair of the advisory council, I'm extremely proud because he's doing what he has to help our community. So Christopher, congratulations.
Thank you. And as I said, this will be on June 17th. It will be on the Facebook page. So if you guys need the attachment, I will make sure that you guys got that link if you want to see it. It is 6 to 8. Yes, it's the same day as Mass Force. So people are going to ask me, how am I doing that at the same time? I already know one person here who's on here, said that already. It's called, I already do all 4 tours because since I'm doing near the train station during the last tour, I could just jump and get here fast. So I don't have to worry. That's the only thing I don't have to worry about. But I want to thank everyone, whoever nominated me, because I found out it was 197 people nominated me. So I didn't know I'm starting. Looks like I am starting a fan club. So thank you. So I know everyone wrote congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As well as on the email and Facebook. So I do want to thank everyone. I didn't put all my thank yous yet because I was going to wait till I get the award so I can say a bigger thank you to everyone. But I do thank everyone. And I do want to thank all my former advocates who are passed away: Edith Prentice, Kermit Augustine, Cal Fischetti. If I mention everyone, will be
Era Fischetti.
Eddie Fischetti.
Era.
I said Era Fischetti with the ERA, and especially my mother. Special thanks goes to my mother because, thanks to her advocating, if I didn't advocate, she would still hit me in the frying pan. But no, she doesn't. I'm just kidding.
No, I don't hit him with a
And I know some of you guys are hiding under that camera laughing your face off. So I know it's funny. Let me switch a little bit because it seems he was going to try to come on, but with a lot of things going on, we do have a new liaison that was supposed to be joining us today, but you know what? It is not easy because he has to do a lot of housekeeping. This is from both Matthews. We have a new NYPD Disability Service Factory
facilitator.
Facilitator.
Is Michael J. Melokowski, and he serves all 5 boroughs, and he is trying to make sure the police department knows how to work with all of the disabilities that are in New York City. Now, his number is...
His number is on the screen. But for Matthew, I will say it, 646-610-5330. One more time, 646-610-5330. And please pass the word out.
And his email is, and I will say it, it's all capital letters first. D as in Debbie, S as in son, F as in food, N as in NYPD in capital letters at in lowercase NYPD.org. Please send him, I would appreciate it. Everybody emails him information because we need to make sure he's educated.
That's not the email. That's just getting onto that website link. The email, that email information, which right now they're working on, I will be putting that on the news update beginning this Friday, so you guys will get his email. Unfortunately, he must be stuck at meetings because right now, since he just started, he has to do a lot of housekeeping vacuum. We are going to try to get him into the July joint meeting. Just let everyone know that we are going to get him. So therefore, I will say this. July meeting is going to be on July 21st, a little early, but guess what? We're going to try to get him to speak and get everyone to please say questions because I want to hear people with their questions, their comments, and guess what? If you don't want to say your name, you can always put on the chat of your questions on the day of the meeting and this month's meeting as well, as we're talking about housing. As a reminder, when I did questions at the meeting, I didn't mention a person's name. So you can do it on the chat there as well. That's why we try to keep the meeting in order and try to keep everyone up to date. Now, moving up to date, Sandy Neighbor, do you have an announcement? Nick or Matthews, do you all have announcements? This is the time.
I have an announcement, of course.
Spit it.
Right?
I'm glad. Say it.
Say it.
Adapt community.
Sandy, you went off. Huh?
Adapt community. I'm from Adapt Community Network.
Sandy, you're going
Can
in
you
and
hear
out.
me now?
Yeah, but you got to stay in one place. It sounds like you're moving.
Uh-oh.
Keep it in. You can speak, but just try to. I'll let you know. Go ahead.
I think you can hear me now, right?
Sandy, I can hear you loud and clear, but try not to move.
Uh-oh. We froze.
Sandy, I'm still here.
Okay. Good, I'm still here too. Adapt Community Network is having a free workshop this coming Tuesday, June 15th at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Lindsay Beal will be presenting a free webinar about managing stress and preventing burnout. So I think that's very relevant to many people today. So you can join us by emailing familyconnect@adaptcommunitynetwork.org, or you can call.
Hi, I'm not hearing anyone.
Hello?
Hello, this is Nick from Partners Health Plan. Um, Sandy, I was hearing you talk and then you went off, and then I don't know where Chris went now.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, you're there. Okay. We at Partners Health Plan, where we do continue to hold regular information sessions. You could always contact me to find out more information and about our plan and how it may be able to benefit you. We have used our telehealth program throughout the past year and a half to help reduce hospitalizations, and we have other telehealth and virtual programs that technology based that help reduce hospitalizations, get people off medications and whatnot. I can leave my information in the chat, but I can be reached at nlabruna@phpcares.org or at 646-771-3184. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Sandy, I saw you came back on. Can you can you just mention your email and
Okay, to register for the July 15th free webinar, you can call 718-436-7979, extension 704, or you can email familyconnect@adaptcommunitynetwork.org.
thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Sarah Thompson was just here earlier, but she had to run. At least we know the Transit Museum is doing well. I will say one piece is I will re-announce this again. I will put this on again on the copy and paste because this is related to anyone who wants the information. The Transit Museum it's actually it's on our website as well. The transit question online will be doing from August 23rd to the 27th for teens of 14 to 18 who identified that week long. Online summer program will be improving and participating in the New York Transit Museum. If you have any questions, you can go visit their website or email them at access@transitmuseum.org. Remind everyone, the Transit Museum is supposed to be opening by the fall of 2021. Anyone who needs to get certain merchandises, and I will mention the mask that I'm holding in my hand that says take the bus or take the train, they are available on the Transit Museum website, including the mask one, not the shirt I'm wearing, but it does say the orders of mask. Which kind of mask are you wearing? They are still selling those. They're still selling shirts and other items. They are available on the website, and you can purchase it on the website. Regarding the used to being the buses, I don't think that's not good. I think that should be running by next year because they're not doing it this year. It was supposed to be scheduled around this time. But the many metal trains that's near us on the Brighton line, they may be running. We should hear more announcements that coming soon because this is from Sarah Thompson. I will make sure that anyone has any questions on that. I will then make sure she gets it. Or you can always, she should be at the next general meeting. Thank you, Nick, for sending us the information. But I do have a question for you, Nick. How are you doing with the coronavirus vaccine for the families?
We're doing very well with getting the vaccine to our members. I don't know what the up to date statistics are, but it was higher than the average population.
That's a good bonus. And please tell Anna. Hope to see her once in the meeting, to see her face once.
Sure.
Nothing against you, Nick, but I do miss her too. Because I have.
Tell her we said hi.
Other people have been asking me, is Anna still working there? And I said yes, but you have to call her you have to call her PHP Wonder Woman.
I'll let her know. I do tell her from time to time that you do ask for her. So.
Yes, because
that includes me too.
And just to add one thing, when she did the last time the family support fair, I have to tell you, all the years, and I'll share this, for all the years we did that family support fair,
it made life easier.
I can go home with no pains in the feet and the back, and I can actually go home with watching TV so I don't fall asleep on it. You know what I mean? Burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And tell her she really, and tell her we might have to handcuff her. No, just kidding.
All right.
Just kidding. But Matthew from HRC, do you have any announcements or something you'd like to have some goosey gops
to tell us?
Tell us if you're still working, if you're still there.
I heard someone.
I hear a Matthew, so speak up a little. New Jersey can't hear you.
Hello? No.
No, you're very low. Your volume level is very low. Speak up a little bit. You're going to have to start singing.
Can you hear me now?
No.
I know it's your voice, but.
And I can tell you the camera is on.
Okay.
Let me boost up the. I can see your face.
I see you.
I can see you.
All right, how about now?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, now it's there. Thank you.
The whole
All right, sorry about that. I had the wrong microphone attached. Yeah, I don't have an announcement to make, and I think you've covered that. The only thing I want to encourage people to do is speak up on those 5-7 hearings. I know you mentioned it earlier, but I think it's a really important time to make your voice heard to OPWDD and encourage the people that you work with to submit in writing. That's just as good as testifying, and I know a lot of us are a little camera shy, so it's a great way to have your voice heard, and it's really important to make sure we keep getting those services that we're looking for going forward. So
okay, Matthew.
That I wanted to reemphasize, but yeah, you covered it, and I'm definitely going to have a few questions for that NYPD disability person that you mentioned. Really looking forward to connecting that. That's a really important position that I'm excited to hear about.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Matthew, this is Deborah. First of all, I hope you're going to also put in your opinions in writing. Number two, I also will encourage everybody that's on this call. All of the precinct councils, all the precincts have councils, precinct councils.
And NCOs.
And NCOs. I would suggest that you all, whether where you live or work, start visiting them and being on their, make sure that you're on their mailing list. Seriously. Because you know something, I'm a retired council president. Let me tell you something. I worked very hard to get the community, and with the police as well as the community, to understand each other. And once you start working with them and understanding, and please don't think, I'm not saying, look, every job has a few bad apples, and ones who did not follow the rules and regulations, they do need to be held accountable. But I will state this, and this is true, and it's on record. The police don't make the laws, they carry them out. That is something people forget. So when I hear people protesting and they're running, I look at them like, excuse me, you write the laws. I don't, even the police. The police are like the parents of society. Some are good and some don't. So please find out and go to them.
And Matthew, to answer your question the other months ago regarding the reduced fare Omni, we will have all that information on July 14th because your agency, I know had a question. The main question, I'm going to share this piece now. I'm giving you guys this little piece, and this is for Sandy as well. You only need to do is check your families who already have the reduced fare MetroCard today. Please make sure they fill out page 1 only. You don't need a picture. Just make sure their phone number, make sure they have an email address. That's the number one, because it's going to be easier and there will be instructions. This is just something to start the ball running. So I am hoping, Matthew, you can forward this out, because I worked on this like, my hair's already starting to grow because of that. No, I'm just kidding. But we you know, I really want to see, not, you know, I don't care if you bring seniors, parents, I don't care. The main thing is, if it gets full at the morning one, that's why we have an evening one. If we see that both of them get full, hey, I'll add a third one if we have to. But you know, the main thing is I need the proof. The Omni reduced fare, which is called Reduced Fare Omni, it's gonna give you guys such a firepower boost. You will taste it. It will taste so good. It's like you're having a sweet cheesecake or a Danish.
I'll spread the word.
Yes. So, and by the way, when you see Julia, tell her she has triple homework in her
notes. Really enough of her these days, but I'll definitely let her know.
Yes, and tell her she still has, and tell her no jaywalking on streets, because I'm watching. You got to realize the bus camera works very well. So, Matthew, it's good to see you here, and I hope, and just letting you know, the emergency manager information is also on our website, to making sure.
Cool. Yeah, I took it down, but I'll make sure other people know where to look. Thanks a lot.
Yes, and by the way, you heard what the other Matthew said about my website, so please make sure you're my witness there, please. And I'm saying that on recording also, for assurance.
All right. I appreciate all the work you guys both do to spread the word about all of these issues.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you, because you guys actually, when you advocate, even for MTA or people with disability, doesn't matter who the disability is, you guys really do a great job. And I have to say, thank you. And that's why we're New York Tough.
To do the same thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's why I'll keep my New York Tough shirt on. We're tough and strong. Just a curiosity from this last person, whoever's TGUSTAVE, which is, I don't know who you are. Can you please unmute yourself? Do you have an announcement? Okay, since no one else has any other announcements, I am going to remind everyone, as I remind you, the next meeting is coming up on the 23rd. Remind you that our next outreach update, which is actually a special one, will be the Omni one, will be on July 14th. That's why I have it on the screen now. Please make sure you pass the word. I'm going to challenge everyone with questions. If you have questions, comments, and a reminder, yes, Donna Ferguson will be there. We will make sure that everyone is up to date on everything. And I remind everyone, keep advocating. We need all your advocating to still continue from now to the end. Since no one else has anything else, I want to thank you, everyone who did attend. I know some had to leave. Some are, busy because it's graduation. We did have some severe thunderstorms last night, and I know some people may have no access, but I remind everyone, for all services, trainings, events, if you have something you want me to add on the news update, so Matthew, you have something for me you want me to add, I will put it on, like normally you guys do send me. Please make sure you email it to me no later than this Friday. So therefore, no later than this Friday. So therefore, everyone gets it. So please, everyone, have a great day. Stay cool. Drink plenty of fluids. I want to thank also our speaker, Matthew, from Emergency Management, who gave a great presentation. And the recording will be coming available later on today. It will be on the YouTube page as saying the Bfssac outreach update. And it will give you all the information if you missed. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Bye.